Unpacking our trauma, unpacking our beliefs and the things that are limiting to us is no different. The second you start unpacking that and taking things out or chipping away at the iceberg, life gets lighter. Life gets more joyful because you can own it. Like, that's not mine. I don't believe that. I don't adhere to that. I don't want that.
That was said was about me being too comfortable. And I remember thinking, so I have the dream job, I have the dream house, I supposedly had a dream marriage, I had my kids, I have great family, friends, my health was okay. I'm like, too comfortable. I'm like, isn't this the whole fucking point? And it was just because, like, I finally just stopped limiting myself and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. Rick's famous thing, I tell Rick all the time, I'm like, but what if? And he's like, Cassie, what if? He's like, if you try this and it doesn't work out, you go back to the same spot. But if it works out, you're further along. And I don't know how many times he's told me that, and I still have my doubts.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, hindsight, I look back and go, holy shit, I'm so glad I did that. And so if this can be a moment for anybody to just take a leap of faith, because worst case scenario, you're in the same.
3 women, 3 paths, 1 mission. To prove that your story is not your limitation, to guide you towards your muchness, to explore the unfiltered truths, and to challenge every bit of belief that built your mask. This is Go Be Too Much, the unapologetic space for the bold, the healing, and the unfinished, where we decide what's too much was always meant for more. So let's chat. Maybe we'll fuck around and find out just how unmissable we all are.
Welcome, everybody, to the Go Be Too Much podcast. Of Mandy here, and I got Casi, I got MJ. We are all so excited to be here with you. Whatever week this is for you, we are enjoying all of the behind the scenes action, putting this together for you, and cannot wait for you to hear these bloopers. But on this week's episode specifically, we all wanted to share a couple of reflections because our first episode officially went live and officially went out there into the world. And all of us have gotten a chance to connect with different people in our life on various different platforms after we put ourselves out there. For myself specifically, the feedback that I got or the messaging that I received after our first episode went live came from a lot of my former students. And I just thought that that was so freaking cool to get onto Spotify or get onto YouTube or just read my text messages and see these kids who are now young adults in their own life of college or just navigating being an adult listening. Like, couldn't pay them to listen to me in high school when they were 15, 16, 17-year-old. And now I have them texting me feedback of, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I love this, Miss Mandy. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And that is just wild. It is wild that they still listen, that they still care, and that they're out there. And I love that. It was a chance for me to connect with my siblings and friends that don't live here in Arizona. And I love that. For me, connection is always going to be what is driving the bus, and connection is really important to me. And so this podcast has really given me an opportunity to connect with people that I don't get to see every day, including MJ and Cassie. Yeah, y'all, we are squirrels off the rails at all the times, communicating on 15 different platforms and trying to get it all in the same group chat at once is insane. So the intentional moments on this podcast where we get to sit down and be still and communicate with each other and connect with our audience is just that is the biggest piece for me. And that alone feels like we've won. So that was the biggest piece, biggest takeaway from me. Cassie, what about you?
So it's interesting, like when we're filming these and we're talking about different things, and then how unintentionally we record an episode, and then 3 episodes down the road, we're talking about what we talked about. And it makes me so excited that we really do have such a passion for the same topics, and that in each episode they all flow together. And I think that's one of the cool things of like working behind the scenes and me doing the editing, and just it's so interesting because I'm like, man, we just talked about that, and unbeknownst to us, that's what we talked about in today's episode or whatever episode it happens to be. And so I've been talking to other people, and they're just so excited about just the random shit we talk about. and
Excited
and
for you.
how, I guess more than anything, like we're not afraid to talk about it because a lot of people sit there and they're like, I don't want to. I was told to be quiet and sit in a corner, not voice my opinion. And I would not consider myself a loud person. I would say I'm probably an extroverted introvert, but that I am choosing to use my voice to put it out there. And, if people tell me their stories, like with their permission, I can put it out there and that other people resonate with it. And just I've said this before in other episodes. I'm just so excited for other people to realize that, you're not alone. There are people out there, and in some way, shape, or form, I hope that Go Be Too Much can connect these people in some way, shape, or form. That would be my reflection point so far. MJ, what do you got?
So I have been contacted by like past school classmates or other colleagues and things like that. And I love hearing that they are so excited for something like this because it's something that they, in their own practice, work with other people, which obviously has a big part of why this is something that I have dreamed of and creative and decided that, this needs to be something other than just in my own practice, with veterans or conversation with friends, and that it's something that needed to be more and, be too much. Right. So it was exciting to hear from people like that and having people want to like pick my brain on it and them even maybe be inspired to do something different with what they're doing in their own practice. And then it's also been great like reflection of just how important and how valuable what we're doing is, because I then working with my day-to-day 9 to 5 job am working with individuals, and it just resonates so much. And so I've even been like, look, you don't have to listen to this. I'm not benefiting from you listening to it, but you should listen to my podcast because it's fitting so much with what our session was today. And every single one of them are like, I'm like tell it, say no more, right? And it's because it is something that is so versatile and can connect with so many people on so many different levels. And I think something that needs to be reflected on today, though, just for some clarity at this point, is more on what exactly Go Be Too Much can all entail. And so I know, Cassie, you wanted to talk a little bit about that communication piece because you actually had somebody like directly talk to you on it.
Yeah. So this morning, I'm pretty sure everybody has shower thoughts. If you don't, you're probably lying because I feel like the best ideas happen in the shower.
I have closet thoughts. A lot of thoughts come to me in the closet.
Wherever your thoughts, see, wherever yours are, yours is the car, closet, mine's in the shower, come up with the best ideas. But I was sitting there reflecting, and I knew that we were going to be talking about reflection. And I had somebody talk to me when I reached out and asked people, I'm like, hey, do you have a story about when you were too much? And this person responded, and it wasn't just this one person, it was a collection of people. And they're like, I don't have a story where I was too much for your podcast. And I was sitting there and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I can think of some for you because I know you've told me them. And I would tell them the scenario, and they were like, I didn't know that's what you meant. And it got me thinking that how I communicated to them wasn't in a way that they could understand or interpret in a way that maybe I was asking like, hey, how have you been too much? But there's different categories. It's such a broad range. And so I wrote some down about me personally that I was thinking. And I know that you guys can touch base on things too, but I was thinking of feeling too much and alone when it came to abusive relationships that I was in, feeling too much and alone when I kept getting cheated on, feeling like I'm too much if I talk about how I am now in the happiest relationship I've ever been, and that it's like I'm going to rub it in people's faces, feeling too much when you move to a new city and you meet new people and they don't like you. So you just think that you're too much. Or feeling too much when I have success because I don't want to gloat or brag. And I feel like just hearing those
people would be like, shit, that's what she's talking about. Like, because it is like in your head, you might think like it's something daunting, but I just gave you both sad stories and happy stories. And I still feel like I'm too much about it. Right. And so I learned when that person asked me or told me that they're like, I don't think my story fits, that I wasn't communicating the right way to them. And since then, I've talked to people and they've shared their stories, not on the forum, so I won't share specifics about it. But they were like, oh, is this the kind of story you're looking for? I was like, yes, that is exactly what I'm looking for. Like, fill out the form for us so we can talk about it. Once I actually like sat there and thought about it and like talked to them in a way that it worked for them, they were like, oh, I've got a million stories, like we all do. But I mean, it is true. Like if I just said, hey, when were you too much? That's so narrow that you, without examples, you might not know about it. And I know that Mandy will resonate with one of these, and Mary, maybe you might resonate with the other. But I have other friends, and I wrote this down, and I said, outside of myself, I see friends feeling so secluded as moms, especially friends who have kids with Down syndrome, with autism, with different things that they're battling with their kids. And, you know, maybe it's the ADHD in their kid and they don't, their kid's wild and they don't know what they're doing. Or it could be the ones who are adults and they're choosing not to have kids and they're getting chastised for it. And so then they start to question themselves, well, what's wrong with me? Am I too much on some other level? And so I think putting those out there and having the listeners be like, oh, that's what you mean by too much. Like there's not one category. Like we're literally talking about life and wherever you feel like you can't be your authentic self. So
Cassie, something you hit on that I don't know if you meant to do this or not, or you highlighted it, is the communication piece and how we all communicate differently. And what your brain thought was being communicated is not what my brain heard. It's not what MJ's brain heard. And y'all gonna see the bloopers. Okay. Y'all gonna see just how much our brains ping pong and interpret things differently, because the communication is, we talk about it as this hot topic, like you got to be able to communicate, you have to communicate, you have to do this. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Because I can say this and you hear this, and that is no fault of mine or yours. It's just what happens. I have been spending a lot of time on language sharing apps, just trying to better learn and understand Spanish because I live in Arizona, and better understand Korean because I listen to K-pop all the time. And it is wild the amount of times I find myself over communicating to make sure that they understand what I mean, because the cultural differences or the cultural understandings of my kind of personality, my kind of jokes, they get lost in translation. And English to English, person to person is no different in how we say things and what we're trying to communicate. And so I love that, Cassie, you did that reflecting and you kind of gave them those examples for people that are listening and maybe are thinking how do I fit into this, or how would I even share about this? Because the one you hit on, I don't want to share my successes because I don't want to be told I'm gloating, or I don't want to come off as cocky. I don't want to come off as overconfident. I think that we are all three women sitting in this space together, very much growing up in a world where we are supposed to, again, whether it's communicated to us directly or indirectly versus by, what we see on TV, what we consume in media, or what we grew up in our households with. Women are not supposed to be boastful. They're not supposed to be loud. They're not supposed to be successful or whatever, what have you. You're supposed to kind of play small. You're supposed to fit into this little box. And why are you gloating about your success? Like, why are you showboating? And I find myself doing that all the time. I get excited about something and I dim it down or water it down because I don't want to be perceived as better than or above or what have you, because I don't feel that way. But my brain is telling me, if you go about it that way, that's what they're going to think of you. And then what if they think that of you? What does that mean? It's like, oh, well, you're a piece of shit. You're not better than anyone. Why would you think that? Why would you think that you could share those things? And it's just wild. Communication as a whole concept is wild. And yes, there's so many I could touch on. I'm gonna stop yapping for a second because Mary, I know that you have things to add to this. And again, we could go on this all day. But Mary, what you got? What you got for me?
Well, and it's you guys both said it and talked about like talking about being successful and doing well and being, like cocky or arrogant or things like that. We actually talked about that in a different episode, and it'll probably be before this one comes out, where we talked a little bit about how, there is a difference between arrogant and cocky and ego and then actually being humble but still confident and proud of yourself and expressing that. And so I just wanted to say, like we mentioned before, that things that we talked about previously and coming up again, there might be some repetitiveness feeling to some of these things, but it's all going to come out in different ways. And we just hope that it keeps resonating each time. But as far as like the communication, I guess to me, with what you guys were talking about, the biggest points were that the communication isn't just like literally saying too much, and it's not necessarily other people always being the one saying it. It might be something they do or say that creates in us the thought of we're being too much, we're doing too much, or even the other side of it, we're not doing enough, we're lacking, we're not good enough, we're not worthy, those kinds of things. And so that's what, like, the too much, Cassie, you said, it's like being your authentic self. It's we're finding our muchness and we're owning that and the truest self that we are in that, without hindering it based on the perception of others, the perception of ourselves, the communication of others, and the communication that we're taking from that. And so, and then the last thing I was thinking about was, like, obviously we're talking about women, we're women. This podcast is primarily going to resonate with women. However, I do want to say that for men, if you are listening, like, we see you too. And we see how, like, don't be too lovey. Don't be too cutesy. Don't cry. Don't show those emotions. Or, so everybody fits into this. Don't be too much of something in some aspect. And so again, it's not necessarily that somebody has ever said you're literally being too much. So I can tell you that the whole reason I built this is because I've been told that so many times in various ways of you're too much, blank, blank, blank. And so whether it's direct like that, whether it's indirect, that's what we're trying to get people to understand, is that this conversation and the stories that you share with us, it's those things that you've been made or that you've made yourself feel are wrong when maybe it was you trying to be your truest self.
Yeah. I think one of the hot words or whatever is limiting beliefs. Like, what are you limiting yourself to believe is true, right? And I think a lot of what I used to do was a lot of negative self-talk. Like Mandy, you were mentioning, like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this. Like, people say that I should do this, and maybe they're right. And it goes to, if somebody tells you you're stupid enough, you start to believe that you are stupid. If somebody tells you you are not pretty enough, you start to believe that you are not pretty. And it's so sad to hear that, because I see women and men who are beautiful creatures, but because they were told that they were ugly, they believe that. And I was like, says fucking who? Like, and I think it's trying to understand and dig deep within yourself that you are worthy, you are good enough, and whatever faith, universe, Gus aspects that you feel, you are worthy on every level. That's part of our too muchness, is like expressing it and learning to love ourselves again. So that's kind of how that resonated with me when you were talking, Mary.
Cassie, and as you were sharing that, it makes me think back. So episode 2 just aired, and it was all about boundaries, and anyone who listened to it knows that I had a lot to say in that episode. And something that came up for me after listening to it live and kind of processing on my own, but even then just sharing with my therapist, y'all learned that I will cut somebody off real quick. So I'm giving too many chances until I don't, and then it's fuck you and I want nothing to do with you, and I cut you off aggressively instead of just communicating a boundary, communicating a need, or talking, because the belief that I have internalized for myself is that I'm not worth the discussion. I am not worth setting a boundary for, because no one's going to respect it, or no one is going to care about it. They are going to hate me or be angry with me, or they're just going to continue to disrespect me. So instead of wasting my energy to do so, to communicate, give them a chance to step up and meet my needs, give them a chance to step up and meet me where I'm at and respect that boundary, I just cut them off. So my limiting beliefs limit relationships, limit connection. When I just said, I just opened this episode telling y'all that connection is the biggest and most important thing to me. And instead of doing the scary thing and communicating a hard boundary that I need respected because I have needs because I'm a human being, I just run the opposite direction. I just cut a bitch off so fast because fuck you. I'm not gonna sit here and waste my time on you. But that's about me. That's due to my belief of I don't deserve to be seen. I don't deserve to be heard. And that's not even necessarily something that I was ever directly communicated. That was never said to me. That's just what I picked up and put in my trauma backpack along the way. A lot of reflecting happening. You put
Well,
yourself out.
and what you said about that, it wasn't said directly, but you picked it up along the way and put it in your trauma backpack. So obviously, a lot of what I do when we talk, I'm going to educate, right? Because that's part of my passion with this. And so understanding that the way our limited beliefs begin is age 3 or 4, honestly. And everywhere along the way, then these events and these things that are happening, whether real intentional and direct or kind of alluded to, our beliefs is taking it that way. And the more that it happens, the more we see that in it. And so then it just confirms it. It concretes it. It makes it, oh, see, that's why that belief is true, because XYZ still keeps happening. And it takes a lot to get to a place where you start to say, wait a minute, like, I'm going to look at this differently. I'm going to look at these events that have happened, and I'm going to see different sides of it, different areas of it, maybe even own a little bit of it, right? And be like, wait a minute, what else was in that dynamic that maybe wasn't necessarily true? And so just to help this for communication pieces, is I know for me, when I was in first grade, I lived in the country and was going to a school that was in town. And there was new builds, new homes being built around that school. And I had to pretty much immediately leave the school because I didn't live in the area. And there wasn't anything to be done. And I know now as an adult that my parents tried and discussed and all these things. But for me in first grade, I was being rejected. I was being abandoned. I can't come here. And I then went to a new school. And for a while, transition period, apparently, according to my family, it was I didn't think that I could be at that, I couldn't be at school. That was the belief. And right. And so there it is, first grade, start believing I'm not allowed. I don't belong. I don't fit in. Right. All those things. And so it's just then anything else that comes along that starts to concrete and build on that. It's like an iceberg. And it takes chipping away at that bottom piece to kind of set yourself free and be able to see that, yeah, maybe these things happen. Maybe people said stuff but didn't say stuff. But we get to decide what is our truest, most authentic self. And again, that we were never too much. We were never not belonging. I was never not allowed to not go to school. Wasn't about me.
No, I love that.
Mary uses the iceberg reference. I use a trauma backpack because I work with teenagers. And so when I explain it to teenagers, if you guys have teenagers or you know teenagers, why the fuck are their backpacks so heavy? Why they got everything in there? Why they got every single book, every single thing they ever need? They got a change of clothes, snacks. They're so goddamn heavy for no reason. Arizona, they don't have lockers really. So kids are carrying everything around. And then they come, miss my back hurts, my neck hurts. I try to pull this backpack. It's 200 pounds. So when I'm talking about traumatic experiences or these underlying thoughts and beliefs about ourselves, it's you open this backpack up, you open your trauma backpack, and I ask you to pull the thing out. And it's does this belong to you? Is this yours? Do you actually believe this?
So,
My
for those
fidget
who
guys,
can't see, it's a pencil. It's a pencil.
It's a very squishy pencil. Does this belong to you? Is this yours? Do you even want this? Is it expired? Does it smell funny? Does it can you turn that assignment in? And, we're going through it. And you get to the end of it and you've got this pile of stuff that's not yours and you don't need. Then you've got this backpack that, okay, this is what I need to take to class with me. It's a lot lighter. Our trauma, unpacking our beliefs and the things that are limiting to us is no different. The second you start unpacking that and taking things out or chipping away at the iceberg, life gets lighter. Life gets more joyful because you can own it. That's not mine. I don't believe that. I don't adhere to that. I don't want that. You can have that. It's just, yeah, it just takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of reflection, a lot of reflection.
I like when you were talking, both of you guys, it made me think of who you surround yourself with. Your 5 closest friends is going to be a reflection of what your life is. And if you don't like how your life is going, maybe you should look around to your surroundings. What is your guys' opinions for or thoughts about people feel stuck? And they're like, well, this person's been my best friend forever, and that's my family. This job needs me. No, note to self, no, it doesn't. They'll have your job posting faster than your obituary. Food for thought. But like, what can you say about that? Like, when you guys surrounded yourself with whatever type of people, what did your life look like at those times? And then when you decided to finally shift, or what maybe thought made you want to shift? Do you guys have a moment that you can think of? I know I kind of put you on the spot.
You know, I love an analogy. My life is one analogy after the next. And there's no specific moment that really jumps out at me initially, but kind of going back to a conversation we had about, leaving your hometown and experiencing that. I think I shared it with you guys on one of these platforms. I don't think I've shared it with the podcast about how I never thought I was going to leave my hometown. I thought I was going to stay in Missouri because I loved my family. I loved my life. I love my hometown. I never wanted to leave it. Fast forward or flashback to grad school, we had to do an internship, full-time internship. I knew that I wanted to be in high schools. That was not something that existed. That was not something that anyone had ever done. So I had to advocate for myself. I had to go find somebody to supervise me. And I chose the high school that I graduated from. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I wanted to go to the high school that I graduated from. I wanted to give back to that community. I wanted to work with those kids. And I did it. I went and I found somebody. I advocated for myself and I got in there despite my advisor telling me I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't be working with teenagers. I was too sensitive. After losing someone close to me. I was too sensitive and I shouldn't be working with teenagers. And I bulldozed and I did it anyways because you're not going to tell me what to do. And that's what I wanted to do. That was the work that was important to me. I loved it. I had a fantastic experience, but there was an incident where a student tried to use his relationship with my significant other at the time, tried to use me to get out of getting in trouble. He had done some shenanigans he wasn't supposed to be doing. And he came in and said, this is what I need from you. And you're dating my cousin, so you need to do this. And I was like, I didn't like how that felt. He didn't like how I handled it. My boyfriend at the time did not like how I handled it. I got the silent treatment. I got berated. I got told that I was not caring enough, or I was not down enough, or whatever it was. In that moment, I was like, oh, fuck this. I'm never working in my hometown. I can't do social work here. I was like, there's no way I could be a practicing social worker in my hometown because I know everyone, or someone knows my family. They know my siblings. They know someone I dated. They know a story about me, or I know a story about them. And I was just like, in that moment, I was like, oh, okay, we're going to graduate, get the fuck out of here. And up until that moment and feeling about this big, feeling teeny weeny because I was being berated by someone that I thought loved and cared about me and understood my professional boundaries, I was like, oh, fuck this. I'm out. And I did. I graduated. And then 6 months later, I am out of my hometown because I outgrew that. It's like when something fits too tightly, your shoes are too small. You can wear it. You can cram yourself into it, but it's not comfortable. And eventually you get sick of feeling confined to the clothing, to the shoe, to the whatever. And you're like, fuck it. I'm going to buy the thing that fits. Much like friends or people we support ourselves with, or jobs. When that shit don't fit, it don't fit. You're gonna tough it out. You're gonna grin and bear it for as long as you can, but eventually you're like, absolutely not. And then that's when you make a decision, but you have to get uncomfortable first.
It's opposite of if the shoe fits, wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
If you've outgrown it, throw that bitch away or donate it.
Right. Well, I guess so, like environment and stuff, and you talking about those things, I guess what came to my mind actually was a couple things, but
my story would be with my divorce, and that last one of the last things that was said in sort of the heat of the weeks following the depression, or not depression, well, it was depression, but following the weeks of the separation, that was said was about me being too comfortable. And I remember thinking, so I have the dream job, I have the dream house, I supposedly had a dream marriage, I had my kids, I have great family, friends, my health was okay. I'm like, too comfortable. I'm like, isn't this the whole fucking point? Like, isn't this what people like say that they want? Like, I was just so confused by that. And for the longest time, I was just like too comfortable. Like, so like I'm not supposed to be comfortable. I'm not supposed to be satisfied in life. And I remember being so upset with that and bothered with it. And then of course, as like reflective goes and healing goes, it comes to that, no, I was too comfortable being treated like crap. I was too comfortable bending over backwards to try and make things work. I was too comfortable accepting and settling in ways that I shouldn't have. And so, if going day to day on autopilot and everything presented as if I was too comfortable, well, that's probably true. I probably was checked out. I probably was in those terms too comfortable and in a space that I never should have been. And then it also made me reflect on that since then, and being my true self, finding myself again, finding a me that I'd lost and build upon even more, and all those things with internal and external, right? With building my dream house and building this business. And I'm like, too comfortable. The fuck I am. I was being too small. Like, no wonder I was just doing the day to day, because that's all I could do. I was surviving, right? And then when I'm thriving and I'm able to be my truest self, there's nothing comfortable about this. I'm doing a shit ton. I'm doing all the things, right? And so, yeah, your environment plays a big role. And if you don't allow yourself to see it, you get to a pretty dark place. You get to a pretty lost place. And I think we all get there for lots of different reasons. And again, it's not just one-sided that creates that. It's two. And so I guess that's how I would reflect on that question. But I think the other piece of that is something that is still coming. And I know this is going to be whatever episode, and we're talking about it coming with the website and Mandy and I doing life coaching, is one of the theories that will be available through workbook, through 101, through group, all the things that are coming, is the pivot theory. And for those of you who are friends, reference, and know me, we all know where that title came from. But I'm excited for people to get to know and learn and understand what is the pivot theory, and how is it that we are not stuck, that we're overthinking, we're doing it, but that we just need to pivot. And how can we turn that spiral that's going internally to pivot externally and make movement?
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love both your guys' answers. So thank you. Mandy, when I think about yours and like changing your environment and going to Arizona, it's been fun watching the last like 10 years. Like, it sucks the things that happen, but like where you're at now and how, you are going to start, you both are starting your life coaching thing, and you're going to, just give yourself in that new capacity because you're in an environment now that allows you to do those things where you didn't previously. I am going to assume didn't think it was possible for yourself, but after this last 6 months, you're like, why the fuck is it not possible? Like, what do you mean? And so now you're just like flourishing into this, and your environment has changed in the last 6 months, and your mindset and your fuck it moments is what I like to call them. So I love that for you. And Mary, I think that just, the last 10 years for you too. I mean, it's crazy to think about. You were in Wyoming, and then you went to Vegas, and the life things that have happened for you. And now within the last in the last year, or really like 6 months, like you had this idea and you're like, why the fuck can't I do it? Like, why not me? Right. And so it's just crazy how both of your guys' environments have just like took such a shift. And now you're like, I'm running. I got my fly shoes on. Like, let's go. Like, I'm giving you guys the light signals here. For those who aren't watching, I'm putting my hands up like the people do at the airport to guide the plane. But it's
As we build it.
and like it's just
Yay!
yeah, staff. But it's, I don't know, just like being the bystander in the back, just watching you guys being like, you're tired of limiting yourselves. And now that you guys have allowed this new part of yourself, essentially, like, or maybe it's always been there, but you're now allowing yourself, giving yourself grace, that it is just taking off. And I hope everybody hears it in the podcast of like, just how amazing it is. And I'll give like a short little story about my pivot moment here. But like back in Wyoming, my limiting beliefs were stupid. That's a whole other podcast by itself. And I was surrounded by good people. I'm not saying that they weren't good people. I learned in therapy that I am super driven and I want to make shit happen. And sometimes that means leaving people behind. And it doesn't mean that I wish ill on you. It just means that we're not going in the same area. You can come with me if you choose, but I'm not allowing you to drag me back and hold me in that spot. Now, you are more than welcome to come with me, but it is not my responsibility to bring you with me, right? And when I met Rick, and again, I talk about him all the time on this podcast because he's just so incredible. He believed in me and he told me that I am the best investment that he could ever have. And he will drop every dollar to make sure that I am successful and that I thrive. And like that alone, like just like my person telling me that I can do all these things, the amount of awesomeness and craziness and shit that I've accomplished in the last 3 years is unprecedented. Like I can't even fathom the things that I've accomplished just by that my person telling me that I'm the best investment that they've ever had. I've never had that before. Like I've never had normally, like Mandy, you said, it's, you can't do this. You fit into this box. I got told back in Wyoming that because I don't have a degree, I can't do these things. I don't deserve to get paid this much money when I asked for it. And I was doing 3 jobs at the time for one company. I wore 3 different hats and I asked to make $50,000. That's it. I was like, you know what? I'm doing 3 jobs. I'd like to be compensated. And they told me because I don't have a degree, I'm not worthy of that. And I believed them. And so when I moved to Salt Lake and Rick was like, first of all, fuck them. Second of all, go do what you want to do. Within 6 months of me moving here, and I don't condone this, but this is my journey. I went from 3 different jobs. I walked into a job and I got paid, and I'll put numbers out there just so that way it shows. But like I got paid $16 an hour, which is the least amount of money I have made in a long time. But I was like, it's a starting point. 2 months into that, I met somebody who was like, Casi, I'm going to a different property. Will you come with me? And I was like, yeah, but what are you going to pay me? And they're like, I'll pay you $18 an hour. And I said, cool. $2 an hour within 2 months. Like no job's going to give you a $2 raise in 2 months. Like I'm going. So I went to this job. I quit that job because my previous boss was like, hey, I want you to come to this one. And I was like, sure. What are you going to pay me? They're like, I'll pay you $22 an hour. I was like, $4 raise in 6 months. Like, absolutely. Let's go. Right. And then I left that job and went to another one for $26 an hour. So my point is that if you show your value to people, like they will compensate you. Like there is no job on this planet that will give me a $10 raise in 1 year. And I promise you that. Like there is no, they're like 65 cents. Do what's best for you and understand that you control it. Like, you know what? Did it suck going to 4 different companies? Absolutely. I don't condone it, but that's what I did. But I got $10 more an hour because they saw my value. And it was because I held myself at a different standard. That I was like, I am worth this much money. And they were like, yes, you are. And so I think it's also a thing of just like that confidence, like that limiting belief and understanding you are worth so much more than what all these other fucks say about you. I should probably, all these other people, sorry, Don't be so aggressive, Cassie. But like,
Pause. You're not being aggressive. Get that shit right out of your head. Okay. You're being Cassie. And Cassie says it one way.
If they don't want you to talk about it, they shouldn't act like it, huh?
yeah, well, and to be fair, if they are listening, I'll be thoroughly shocked. But if you are, you know who you are. And now you can see that I am building a business. I am becoming successful. I never would have thought that. And it was just because, like, I finally just stopped limiting myself. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. Rick's famous thing, I tell Rick all the time, I'm like, but what if? And he's like, Cassie, what if? He's like, if you try this and it doesn't work out, you go back to the same spot. But if it works out, you're further along. And I don't know how many times he's told me that, and I still have my doubts. And, you know, hindsight, I look back and go, holy shit, I'm so glad I did that. And so if this can be a moment for anybody to just take a leap of faith, because worst case scenario, you're in the same spot. Or
the answer is always no if you don't ask.
Well, and again, it's limitless. We are limiting ourselves. And yes, we're limiting ourselves because of experiencing things. We're limiting ourselves because of things that have been said and done and all that. And we're not acknowledging that it's not hard to break free of that, but to recognize that when you decide that it's actually limitless, that it truly is impossible, which is what I am possible. Right? So when you do that, it's limitless. You can do and try anything. Doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to rock at it and be successful and love it. Maybe not. But again, you don't know if you don't try it. The risk you have to have. What is the line in Hitch when he talks about, like, I'm scared like hell, but you know, at least I'm going to try and I'm going to jump and I'll either fly or fall, right? Like, I don't know how he says it, but right. And it's just true. Like, you don't know. Like Cassie said earlier in that, is that it is maybe something that's always been in you. And by you, Cassie, doing the steps and things, what you show is that you weren't going to settle, you weren't going to limit, and you were no longer going to try to keep fitting in places that you were never meant to fit into. And when we truly allow ourselves to become open to that and receptive to that, then the things and the situations and the possibilities do start to happen and fall into place. And again, it's whatever your belief is. Mine is Gus, but you know, it flows when you're allowing yourself to be limitless, to be your muchness.
For those of you listening, Mary, what does Gus stand for you?
God, universe, source, and spirit.
Yes.
We use that a lot. Just want to make sure I put that out there.
Yeah.
Yes, listening to all of us just kind of share and bounce off of each other. When you get uncomfortable, you start making decisions and you decide, do I want to stay? Do I want to stay in this discomfort and stay with the discomfort that I know? Or do I want to be uncomfortable in a new way and go to that unfamiliar territory, that unfamiliar place? Do I, want to quit 4 jobs in 4 months? Do I want to quit a job with a steady paycheck and go just risk it and make shit work because I need some variety in my life? Do I want to talk to the new person in my life who maybe isn't my stereotypical individual, but they're being nice to me? Do I want to go take that dance class? Do I want to go take that dance class that I don't know shit about and I just want to look silly? Like, you got to be uncomfortable in new ways and push yourself out there for the opportunity to even find you, for the opportunity to know that you are looking for it, that you are ready, you want to do the things.
I think that needs to be a whole topic on an episode, like growth and outside of the comfort zone.
Yes. Like, that's what I was just going to say. It's like, your playing small does not serve anyone. Does not serve anyone. And I feel like, yes, you are correct, but that's probably going to be a whole other episode on a whole other time frame outside that comfort zone. But yes, final reflections. Cassie, Mary, final reflections.
I just want to say that I appreciate you ladies and allowing me to take this leap of faith with you. I will be one of your biggest supporters, and those listening, you should consider life coaching with either one that you resonate with. I know they don't toot their own horns, but I'll do it for them. And I know that people listening will resonate with, different people. And that's really like our whole point, right? But I just want to say that I am very grateful and thankful that you guys allow me to be a part of this journey with you and get to have these reflections, because it heals my heart and my brain and allows me also to grow as a person. And anybody that knows me knows that I love growth mindset. Like, I don't read smut books anymore. I literally have every growth mindset book you can think of, and trying to be a better human every day. Because at the end of the day, that's what I asked my tiny human. I'm like, are you a good person today? And she says yes. And I said, that's all I asked for, because I think we need more good people in this world and more open-minded growth, because, we can be better. So that's my reflection, is that I love listening and reflecting with you ladies. And I really appreciate you both.
I guess my reflection is that we live in a world where there's a lot of negativity, and there's always going to be. And coming from 3 individuals who still struggle with negativity at times, but have come very far from the very dark and twisted individuals they used to be, I think that as much as it is difficult to choose the mindset to look at the positive, to find the positive, choose the different what if rather than the negative, right? What if, choose the positive one. I think that you have to be willing to allow yourself to receive that. And it starts with believing that you're worthy of that. And that once you can do that, I guarantee it, because I live it, that it will be better than you thought or could have imagined yourself.
Amen.
I was like, amen. That last piece that you said, believing that you are worthy of it. That is something that I will probably always be working on in some capacity, because that is the biggest, monkey on my shoulder in conversation situations or what have you. It's like, do I actually believe that I deserve this? Or is that monkey coming in and shitting on my plans, and then I'm making decisions based on fear and not excitement, or based on anxiety and not excitement for what is on the other side. Much like Casi, I enjoy this time together to always reflect intentionally on just what's going on in life and our interactions with each other and with others. And I just cannot overstate it. All that I want to say is get outside the comfort zone, do the uncomfortable thing, do the hard
Mandy was
thing.
just uncomfortable being real vulnerable, and it didn't connect it because she was restless and moving. So there you
Story
have
of my
it.
life.
We're healing just like you are. Even though we're doing this podcast, we're figuring it out and healing too. So if you think you're watching us because we are healed, nuh-uh, we are healing and we are healing.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I think we'll end it there for this time. So thanks for listening in and reflecting with us. We hope you continue to enjoy. We hope that you go be limitless. And as always, go be too much. Bye.
Bye.